Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel, Navigating Midlife Live. I'm Connie Pratula, the Menopause Navigator and certified nutritional practitioner. And I have an interesting topic to talk about today. And this answers so many questions of why I felt the way I did when I was going through the early stages of menopause. Anyway, let me get into it. Estrogen and histamine, they are related as far as how we can feel in our menopause, with our menopause symptoms. So, most people think about histamine as an allergic reaction, which, yes, histamine is produced in our body when we are reacting to something. I think a lot of times it's thought about, an emergency reaction like a bee sting or somebody who is anaphylactic with peanuts, those types of things. But our body can also release uh, small amounts or even higher amounts of histamine based on certain foods or drinks. Another one is alcohol. Some people react to the tannins in red wine or even the tannins in something like a black tea. And, we get that stuffy nose and, we relate it to what we've had to, eat or drink. But if we're constantly doing that, histamine can build up in our body. And here's the lovely part is that high histamine levels can also further increase estrogen levels. So when we're going through perimenopause, menopause, and our hormones are changing a lot, there can be times where our estrogen can be quite a bit higher. Here's the interesting part. Estrogen can also cause a histamine release. And you're probably, I don't know whether you're thinking to yourself or not, but okay, but what helps the histamine go away? Like, is it just histamine's produced and we have to suffer through this? Well, there is an enzyme in our body called diamine oxidase, and that helps to break down histamine. Some people, and I'm one of those people that I found this out by doing a genetic test, is that my body doesn't always produce enough of the diamine oxidase. It's also shortened to DAO. So my body doesn't always produce enough DAO. So if I'm eating something that is causing my body to release histamine, so something that I maybe have a food sensitivity to, and I don't have enough DAO to break that down, the histamine can continue to build in my body. And that can cause various symptoms, brain fog, uh, e- energy, like as far as affecting our energy, or just like overall not feeling good, like just not feeling optimal, not feeling yourself. The other part that can affect histamine is progesterone. So, progesterone can help to limit the amount of histamine that is produced. Well, again, when we're going through menopause and perimenopause, that's when we may not be producing as much progesterone. We may have higher levels of estrogen. So you can see that we're kind of getting into sort of the perfect storm kind of scenario. High estrogen produces more histamine produces more estrogen. Progesterone is dropping because that's what happens during those menopause years. And so that's causing the histamine to not be blocked. So it's not a great feeling. Excuse me. And this is something that was never talked about when I was going through. Great time to get a tickle in my throat. This is something that was never talked about when I was going through menopause, is that there was a potential histamine reaction in this. Now, I don't know how common knowledge this was, but it's definitely becoming more common knowledge now. And I think there are some more recent studies that have maybe been done over the last couple of years. But when I think back, during that time, that's also when I was preparing for my bodybuilding competition. And stay with me here. Here's the reason why I'm bringing this up. So during my bodybuilding competition prep, one of the things I had to do was I had to eat a lot. I had to eat 6 times a day. You can't stop and cook all the time because you're working out. So Saturday used to be my grocery shopping day and Sunday was my cooking day. So I would cook all of my meals at least for the week, Monday to Friday. So that meant cooking enough food for 6 meals a day for 5 days a week. I'd pop all of that into the fridge and have it ready to go. And it was all in, pre-measured containers and all that kind of stuff. Well, the longer food sits after it's been cooked, the higher the histamine levels become in that food. So I was adding additional histamine into my body. Meanwhile, I'm going through menopause. I really was going through menopause at that time. So no wonder after my bodybuilding competition was done, I was feeling so awful because I had probably very high histamine levels. I was dealing with brain fog. My digestive system was all messed up, and I just overall felt really bad. Also, while I was going through my bodybuilding prep, I was still working, 5 days a week full time for my employer. I did take a little bit of a break just shortly before my bodybuilding competition because it's very well known that when you're cutting carbs during those last weeks, your brain doesn't work very well. So I just decided to take a few extra weeks off to make it kind to my employer so that they weren't dealing with somebody or had an employee that just didn't have a brain that was firing on all cylinders. So anyway, it was also a very stressful time because I'm working out 5 to 6 days a week. My workouts were long, prepping all my food, working full time. So yeah, everything was definitely adding up. So that added to my histamine release. So what can you do? What are some of the things that you can start to do to help to reduce the histamine? Well, one of the things is cook your food as fresh as possible. And here's even the other part of it. The longer, and especially when it comes to animal protein, so the longer animal protein sits in, say, a butcher shop or whatever, the histamine levels increase, especially if it's on a bone. The bone just increases histamine. So you want your food as fresh as possible. I know that's difficult, but one way that you can get around that is to buy things that are flash frozen. Say that 3 times fast. Flash frozen. So a lot of times fish is flash frozen. You can get, chicken breasts and those types of things that are flash frozen as well. So that can help to, reduce the amount of histamine that's being produced in that food after it's sort of been cut and prepared. If you're working with frozen items, you want to thaw them in the fridge and then cook them as soon as they are thawed. And then as soon as they're cooked, you want to put them in the fridge or freezer immediately. So whatever you're not going to be eating right at that moment, you want to cook it, put it in the fridge or freezer immediately. And, if that's your leftovers for the next day, the sooner it starts to cool, the lower the histamine levels are going to be. So I know a lot of us are busy, and even as a nutritionist with my busy clients, a lot of times I will recommend doing some food prep to save time so that you're not, going to, the fast food place to grab something to eat. So that's where, yes, I do recommend pop that in the fridge or pop it in the freezer right away. So in some ways, things that we're trying to do to help ourselves, if they're not done in the right way, unfortunately, they can sometimes cause further issues in our body. Now, for the people who actually have a genetic expression where they're not producing as much DAO, there are definitely supplements that can help. And actually, one of my clients who has had histamine issues all her life, pretty much, I just started her on a new type of a supplement that helps with that DAO release. and she thinks that it's actually really helping. She's just started it recently, so time will tell. But that could be a huge relief for her, because a lot of people that are dealing with histamine issues, what are they typically taking? They're typically taking some type of a pharmaceutical or over-the-counter allergy medicine, and staying on those things for a long period of time isn't the best thing. They can, definitely have side effects. And I totally get it. If this is something where it's really affecting your quality of life, then of course you want to take that allergy pill. You don't want to be miserable. But I'm really excited that potentially there are some good alternatives for people who don't want to stay on the over the counter medicine and want to try something that's more supplemental based, more natural. So that's another potential option. Now, the other thing that I've done is I've created a guide. So for everybody watching, or if you're watching the replay, you can comment below and just let me know, yeah, I want the guide. It's a great guide that shows food swaps. It provides a list of foods that are higher in histamine, and also foods that can cause a histamine release. So those are very handy to have, but the food swaps are great as well too. To kind of gives you some, gives you some, I guess, a place to start, right? Because I know anytime I've had to make changes with respect to the way that I eat, sometimes it's like, well, where do I start? Do I have to research all of this? And that can be time consuming. It can be very confusing as well too. So I've created a guide. So as I say, you can comment or comment below, or you can even email me directly and I'll send the guide out to you. In that document, I've also included some low histamine recipes. And because we're into fall season, so you're probably thinking, why am I even talking about histamine at this point? Because a lot of people, again, associate it with a spring allergy. And there's actually people that also suffer from fall allergies as well, too. I believe that this is also a really good time to start doing this, because that sort of gives you the winter time when allergies tend to be a little bit lower. That gives you the winter time to start working on this and hopefully start to alleviate some of that histamine in your body, so that maybe next spring, when allergy season comes along, it's not as bad. Of course, if you're in menopause, yes, it's not going to be something that's suddenly going to stop, because if your hormones are still fluctuating, then of course, that is going to be part of the effect. But like I say, the guide has swaps and lists and recipes, so to make it a little bit easier. Now, the other thing is, of course, I mentioned stress, but the other thing is when you're eating, things that can help to reduce our estrogen are high fiber, right? So that's where, and I know I always talk about this, my favorite vegetable, the cruciferous vegetables, the broccoli, the kale, the cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, cabbage. All those things are in season right now as well too, which is amazing. Bok choy is another one. So they're great. Arugula is another one. So those are great as far as they support our liver. They're very high in fiber, but they also help to move that excess estrogen out of the body. And so that's part of what's going to help with the histamine as well too, right? Reducing that histamine or reducing the estrogen potentially causes less of a histamine release. Less histamine potentially causes less of an estrogen release. I know it's a vicious circle, but high fiber is definitely beneficial during this time as well too. So anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about today. It's a simple topic, and I guess these are the things, when it comes to menopause and comes to menopause symptoms. They can sometimes be pretty simple topics, but There are so many variables that can affect women when they're navigating the stages of perimenopause and menopause. And, you'll get one woman that will say, it's nothing. I breezed through it, was easy. And then you'll get women that will say, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm a completely different person. I just don't feel like I can cope with what I'm dealing with. So it can be very debilitating and it can really affect women's lives. The part that I guess I get a little bit concerned about is there's just such a long list of things that can affect you in menopause. And it becomes very daunting. And I think in some ways, that further adds to the stress of what is menopause going to be like before you've even hit menopause. And as I just mentioned, stress is one of the things that can cause excess histamine release. So I think the thing is that, as much as possible, try to do things that you can early on. Stay with my channel. I've always got great tips. Those things are definitely going to help you. And even if you are, oh, and I've got a comment here, and I'm going to pop that comment up on the screen here. So Jennifer, my client, and of course I need to put my glasses on because I can't see without them. So Jennifer saying it works. More green vegetables help with her allergies 1,000 times since starting with my support in January. So thank you, Jennifer. Thank you so much for adding that comment. And yes, I mean, we've seen that, right? We've seen the big changes in how you're feeling, that you're not having the severe reactions like you were before. And I think you've also been able to reduce some of the over-the-counter allergy medicine occasionally. So that's really great. But as I was saying, that, for me, I think a lot of women feel that once they go into menopause and they're feeling all these symptoms, that there's no relief, there's no help. And for some women who don't want to go on hormone therapy, menopause hormone therapy, they feel sort of lost that, they're going to constantly be dealing with these symptoms. And that's not the case because I'm a prime example. I felt so awful. But as I started to make all the changes and as I started to learn things, I wish I'd known about the histamine, but as I started to learn things, that's when I started to regain my health. So it's never too late. It's not a lost cause. You can change things around. And that's where also down below in my description, I do include a link. If you're ready, you've done the research, you've listened to various things, and you're just saying, I'm ready. I'm ready. I want to start to feel better in menopause. Reach out to me. There's a link. You can apply to have a 30-minute complimentary consultation with me. We can talk about it and talk about the things that can be done and how you can feel better. So anyway, thank you so much for joining. Thank you, Jennifer, for your comment. I appreciate it. If you're watching the replay, just put #replay, whatever your comment is. I'd love to see it. I'd love to answer them. I love answering questions. And yeah, stay tuned next week, same time, same place, 2 p.m. Pacific time. And I don't know what the topic will be. It always comes to me a day or two before, but stay tuned. And once again, if you want that guide, let me just see here. If you want that guide, you can email me directly, or you can comment below that you want the guide sent out, and then we can get in touch and I can get that out to you. Thank you so much for joining, and have a great day.